Okay, today I'm going to show you how to graph inequalities on a coordinate plane. So if you're going to have an inequality on a coordinate plane, you're probably going to have something like this, y greater than 2x plus 3. Okay, it's going to be an equation of a line. Most cases you're going to see slope-intercept form. There are a few cases where you might see something like this, 2x plus 3y less than 5, and this is standard form, but we're going to primarily focus on this case over here, because you can always solve this for y by first subtracting 2x from both sides and dividing by 3. So we're going to focus on this case over here. In both cases, what you do first is you graph the line. So you're going to ignore the inequality symbol right here, and you're going to graph the line y equals 2x plus 3. And over here you'd graph the line 2x plus 3y is equal to 5. Okay? So just go ahead and graph the line as you normally do. Over here, this is slope-intercept form. So we know that the intercept is 3 and the slope is 2, and we're going to use that. So here's a coordinate grid. I need to find a 3 on the y-axis. Remember, y is up and down, so we're going to go find 3. It's right there, and we put a dot. And then we're going to use the slope. Remember, the slope is rise over run. So we're going to go up 2 over 1, because this is rise over run. So from here, we go up 2 over 1, we get another dot, and then we're going to connect the points with a nice straight line. Okay, and that's how we graphed y equals 2x plus 3. But instead of graphing y equals 2x plus 3, we need to graph this, y equals greater than 2x plus 3. So here's the first difference. If it is a greater than or a less than, you're going to use a dashed line. If it is a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to, just like an equal to, you're going to use a solid line. So this is the same rule that we did with the open circle and the closed circle. Okay? So just like before, the greater than or less than, open circle, going to be an open line. We call that a dashed line. The solid circle for the greater than or equal to, less than or equal to is going to be the solid line. In this case, I need a dashed line, so I need to go back and adjust this a little bit. And I need to get rid of some of these extra parts because this needs to become a dashed line. So there we go. We have a nice dashed line now. Okay? So if you're not thinking ahead, make sure you use pencils so you can change your solid lines into a dashed line, because this must be a dashed line. If it's not a dashed line, it's wrong. So I now have my line y greater than 2x plus 3. Now the next thing is, it's actually not the line itself. I need to know on which side to shade, because we're going to shade the entire area, because all of these points on the bottom or all of these points on the top are going to be shaded. And they're all solutions, every single one of them. And you don't want to be pointing at every single point over here and testing them all. So the thing is once you get one point over here, they're all true. Or if you get one point over here, they're all true, and they can never be true on both sides. It's going to be one side or the other. So we pick what's called a test point. And the test point can be any point you want, provided it is not on your line. You cannot use a point on your own line, because that's going to tell you if your line was right or not. So you can pick any other point in the world you want, just not a point on your line. So generally we want to pick easy points, because we want to do this in our head. The point 0, 0 is probably the easiest to pick, because when you multiply by 0, everything becomes 0. And when you add 0, nothing changes. If 0, 0 happens to be on your line, the next easiest points are things like 1, 0 or 0, 1, because now you're just multiplying by either 1 or 0, and you're adding a 1 or a 0. If those aren't available to you, pick the easiest point available to you, something that you can do in your head that you don't have to spend a lot of time in. You can pick any point you want. So if you want to pick like 50-50, you can, but I would highly recommend you pick easy points. I personally like 0, 0 whenever it's available, so that's the one I'm going to pick. And I'm going to check, is 0, 0 on the line? It is not, so we can use 0, 0 as a test point. So in our original equation up here, which is right here, we're going to plug in 0 for x and 0 for y. So I'm going to take it down here, and we're going to go ahead and plug it in. So I get 0 for y greater than 2, x is 0, plus 3. And we're going to actually see if this is true or false. If it is true, you're going to shade the side with your test point, in this case where 0, 0 is. If it is false, because here's our test point right here, we're going to shade the other side. So on the left we get 0, that's easy. On the right you get 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. And now I check, is 0 greater than 3? This is false. 0 is less than 3. It is not greater than 3. So our test point is false. So instead of shading the side with the test point, we're going to shade the other side. So everything over here is a solution. And that's how you graph an inequality. Step 1, graph the line as normal. Step 2, decide if it's a dashed line or a solid line. Step 3, use a test point. Find out if it is true or false. If your test point is true, shade the side with the test point. If your test point is false, shade the other side. And that's what you're going to do. Nice, easy steps. Let's do it one more time for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get another line over here. Let's say we got y is equal to 1/2 x minus 4. Okay, step 1, graph the line. So here's my line. Oh, we can't have equals to. Let's change that. Let's go with less than or equals to. All right, now we got an inequality. All right, back to what we were doing. We got to graph this line. We get -4, so I got to find -4 as my y-intercept. It's right there. My slope says rise 1 over 2, so from there we're going to go up 1 over 2. So up 1 over 2 is right there. I got my line. I have a less than or equal to. A less than or equal to includes that equal to, so this is going to be a solid line. So we're going to draw a solid line in this case, right through those 2 points. Okay, remember, no equal to dash line, with the equal to solid line. So I got a solid line. Now you need to find your test point. You can pick any point you want that's not on your number line. 0, 0 is not on our number line. It's available to us, so let's use 0, 0. So I'm going to plug in 0 for y, and I'm going to plug in 0 for x. And let's see what happens. We get 0 less than or equal to 1/2 times 0 is still 0. 0 minus 4 is -4. And the question is 0 less than or equal to -4? 0 is bigger than -4, not less than, so this is again false. So we're going to shade the other side. So instead of shading 0, 0 over here, we're going to shade the other side, which is down here. Okay. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask. The most important thing is to make sure you graph your line correctly. Because if you're not graphing your lines correctly, it doesn't matter which test point you pick because everything gets all messed up. You first and foremost have to have your line graphed correctly. Then you make sure it's solid or dashed. Then at last you finally use that test point. Okay, if you have questions, please make sure you ask.